Before we start, I want to stress that this is called a casual review for a reason. This is not a fully detailed summary with diving into all aspects, but more so my experience and feelings about the game, so treat it as that. Now let's jump into it. I went into Corpse Party blindly, as I never played it before and haven't seen any gameplay of it, so I only knew 3 things beforehand. 1. It's a survival horror game. 2. It has anime girls in school uniforms. 3. It's very popular. The story is pretty linear. A group of high school students do what you would expect them to do: clean up classrooms, mocking each other, performing a weird dark ritual with a doll, you know, the usual high school stuff. I don't want to get into the story in great detail, but turns out the ritual was not a really good idea. Sucked the main cast into some weird cursed place, and they get separated into convenient small groups, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. My main issues with Corpse Party became very relevant in Chapter 1, and unfortunately the otherwise intriguing story did not save it for me. First things first, I got a lot of people thrown at me, 9 to be exact. 3 of these looks exactly the same. Seriously, the boys look so different, but look at these 3, it's like a goddamn copy-paste of the same girl. They blended together for me, especially at the beginning, with 2 of them being the main character as we play. The prologue is super long, and the actual story takes so long to get going. After a while I just wanted to play the goddamn game finally. Oh, thank God I can move. I can move. But to my surprise, the gameplay was even more boring. The puzzles are very simple, which wouldn't be a problem if all the rooms didn't look exactly the fucking same as well. It all looks and feels like you're doing the same shit over and over and over again. At this point, it's worth mentioning that unfortunately I played the Steam version, which ironically is indeed a steaming pile of shit. A lot of artwork has been removed for whatever reason, and it broke any sort of immersion. Like this creepy ghost remained weird blue glow spirit, for example, could have been an Eiffel 65 music video from what I've seen. Now that I looked up what I was missing, it is very clear, without these images the game just doesn't work as well. Plus, there are a lot of cutscenes where you see nothing, it's blank. These are definitely new names. I mean, I would recognize a name that starts with fuck. Okay. You stare at a black screen for what seems an eternity, and since my soul is already black and empty, it all felt too familiar and I didn't like that. The characters also didn't feel quite right. At the beginning, we had a rough introduction, but it's a little bit too many people and too many details, and they don't really behave accordingly in the game. Like there's Naomi, who I think was told to be a tough, determined, bright girl, while in reality she started really weakly, and at the end it turned out she was the weakest of them all. Then there's Machida Boy, who is often made fun of because he gets scared easily and thought to be a wuss. But for whatever goddamn reason, everyone still has a crush on him. And let's just say, if that would be the hot thing in high school, I would have been the king of Pussyland in high school and not the I don't want to lose you as a friend, let's just remain friends guy of Pussyland. But I wouldn't even mention the fact Machida turns out to be the most likable and one of the bravest person in the game if there weren't just plain irritating, redundant characters in the game as well. Machida's sister, for example, is just 4 hours of... The game says she's supposed to be 14. 14! She looks and acts like an 8 or a 10-year-old at best. And absolutely ruined all the chapters she took part of, which is way too many. Then there's Morisha, this grey-haired guy whose entire role is, oh, Oh yeah, he's also there, I guess. This is even underlined when Yuka, the mentioned 14-year-old girl, loses her brother's sight, and since she doesn't trust this mofo, teams up with this absolute stranger who had a purple penis on his shoulder. Killer instincts, Yuka. Your future is very bright. Once you finally learn who is who, the game throws more strangers at you. There's a new area and a shit ton of backtracking. By chapter 4, I was about done with the entire game, because even though I ended up liking the story, it was nearly unbearable to progress at that point. The jumping between many characters' plot threw me off, the cutscenes were too frequent, and the gameplay itself was just absolutely boring to me. I ended up not even finishing chapter 5 because it's the longest and the most tedious part with shit ton of backtracking, but holy crap, it is packed with lore and story. And that's the issue. The pacing was killing it for me. I gave it a good thought. I was thinking a couple of days about the story and why it didn't click with me. And I realized every time when I finally felt invested in the plot, I was thrown into a new set of people going to a very similar space, similar puzzles, just hoping for a cutscene, because the gameplay itself was not interesting at all. At this point, it might seem like just a rent, but I actually don't mind. I have played it. It has a lot of value. A lot of detail and work went into it, I can tell that easily. I can recognize and applaud that. But for me, quite simply, it didn't work. I know several people who like this game, and I can see why it would be a good story and series to watch. The story can be captivating, and it has a few great twists, and a few unpredictable turn of events. Plus, you don't get frustrated and when you don't have to endure the game's bullshit, so that's a win-win-win situation for you as a viewer. But as a player, it just cut short. It just didn't work. Again, it could be the Steam version's fault, but I would rather not party with these corpses ever again.